Hello world, how you people doing? You know, when I sit here and talk about video games, I try to be as honest with you guys, with you people as much as I can. And when I talk to you, I'm usually giving you facts. When I defend a Wii U, I will defend that console. I will defend it. But we're gonna talk about Sony and Square here. Remember, I explained the situation with the Avengers and why things were happening the way it was happening. I try to tell you that Sony is the console manufacturer, Square is the publisher, and Crystal Dynamics is the developer, right? Remember that? Remember when Sony they put a Sony had Square put a time exclusive on Final Fantasy VII the remake, right? Okay, and then they got they have Final Fantasy 16 to themselves, right? Okay, and then they have the Final Fantasy 14 MMO, right? Okay. And then Xbox fans gotta wait 2 years, 24 months before they play Athea, right? Okay. So you guys are sitting there, okay, like what are you getting at? Alright, let me fool you in real quick. For those Xbox players like myself, I got an Xbox. And I always thought Final Fantasy 14, the MMO, was coming to Xbox someday, right? So for those people who keep thinking that Final Fantasy 14 is coming to Xbox, like Onslaught said in Marvel vs. Capcom, good dreams are dead. Final Fantasy 14 is not coming to Xbox. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. Listen to this. Listen to this. I'm on Gamers Rant here, and it says here, no plans for Final Fantasy 14 on Xbox. Final Fantasy 14 producer Nokai Yoshida says that Square Enix development cycle for the MMO leaves little room to support Xbox. Let me read that again. No plans for Final Fantasy 14 on Xbox. Final Fantasy 14 producer Nokai Yoshida says that Square Enix development cycle for the MMO leaves little room to support Xbox. Oh God. It says your Final Fantasy 14 fans are currently celebrating the announcement of the MMO newest expansion, Endwalker. Yet, going by Endwalker announcement event, Square Enix sees a different reveal as more important. During the presentation, Square Enix CEO Yosuke Matsuda took to the stage to announce Final Fantasy XIV is coming to PlayStation 5. Such a major focus on the next-gen console port prompt fans to speculate that Final Fantasy XIV could be coming to Xbox Series X2. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Speaking with the Washington Post, Final Fantasy XIV producer Nokai Yoshida was asked directly about the possibility of the MMO launching on Xbox as well as other platforms. Yoshida confirms that there are no such plan for the time being. Final Fantasy XIV players will have to be content with the current level of support for both PC and PlayStation. So basically, remember when I told you that Sony and Square has an history since PlayStation 1. They've been friends, buddies, twins, husband and wife, peanut butter and jelly, bread and butter. So Final Fantasy is what put PlayStation on the map. So with the acquisition that Microsoft made and that Elder Scrolls 6 might not be coming to our PlayStation, Sony now in turn, since they've had a good relationship with Square, they went to Square and now they got Final Fantasy, I think 15, 16 to themselves. Plus the Xbox fans got to wait 24 months for Athea, and then now we're getting news that Final Fantasy 14, the MMO, might not be coming to, is not coming to Xbox. So that's what's going on here. So uh, Xbox fans might be getting the Final Fantasy VII the remake, but that's as far as it goes. But far as getting the MMO, no, it doesn't look like it. We might have Final Fantasy 10-1, 10-2, 12, 13-1, 13-2, and 14, but not the MMO. But not the MMO to 14. So, but and plus Xbox has World of Final Fantasy, and that's it. And plus they got 7, 8, and 9. But that's that. That's as far as Final Fantasy goes on Xbox. Me personally, I was looking forward to the MMO being on Xbox, and I thought it was long overdue. But now to get this news that it's not coming, that's Sony and SquareSoft for you in a nutshell. Okay, they've been friends since PlayStation 1. Remember that. But anyway, and let me read a little bit more here. It says here, Yoshida does provide some context for the decision, though he says that Square Enix's current development cycle for Final Fantasy XIV updates and expansion is rather condensed. This cadence then doesn't allow for expansion onto other platforms without long-term planning. Yoshida says that adding another platform would effectively exponentially grow the number of required resource from Square Enix. Suffice to say, Final Fantasy XIV team's current schedule doesn't appear ready for that. So the team is not ready for it. That's number one. And they don't have the resource. It says so. They don't have a long-term planning either. So Final Fantasy the MMO coming to Xbox doesn't look any good. doesn't look too good. So like I said, we might be getting Final Fantasy VII the remake, but that's the end that's the end of it. We gotta wait 24 months for a Thea, but that might not happen, so that's the relationship between Xbox and Square right now. See, Xbox got a relation, not Sony has a relationship with Squaresoft since PlayStation 1. They're both Japanese companies, they're both in each other's backyard. So Xbox is an American company, Microsoft, so for them to get games to their console it's very slim. So it doesn't look like Final Fantasy 14 is coming to Xbox. But anyway, I'm gonna leave a link in the description box so you guys can read the article. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still a Star Wars and Star Trek thing. Borg Dark Side. Go. Peace.